today, what you and I are going to talk about are the simple life hacks and daily habits that you can copy from billionaires. Don't you want to know what those are? I sure do. And what I love about everything that you're about to learn, it's all free. And so let's jump right into number one with the first billionaire who is probably, he might even be like the first well-known billionaire that everyone knew about. I'm talking about none other than the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. When you do an episode about the habits of billionaires, you have got to start off with the OG Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is famous for being one of the most successful investors in the entire world. He's the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He is also world-renowned for his philanthropic efforts. He is worth $145 billion. Aren't you curious to know what his daily habits are? Well, the first one may surprise you, and I want you to hear it straight from him. Warren Buffett did an interview with Professor Jeff Cunningham as part of this iconic lecture series at Arizona State University in 2015, where he describes one of his most important daily habits. Take a listen.
What's your media routine?
I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies, for example.
And you process information very quickly.
Well, I have some filters in my mind.
I just love that. He reads for hours every single day. No wonder he's so smart. No wonder he knows so much about so many things. And there's 2 other things I want to point out. First of all, this habit, it's free. There is nothing stopping you from dedicating time every day to reading and learning. It's free to do. Go to a library, log online, and you can read for free. And the other thing I want to point out is at the very end, did you notice he says that this daily habit of reading every single day has created a filter in his mind? And one of the things about Warren Buffett is that he is known and respected for making extremely decisive and fast decisions. And I was really curious about that. And so the next part of what you're about to hear him talking about is that his decision making, and the reason why he's able to be like, yep, I'm in, I'm out. It's not happening fast. It's actually happening because of the slow buildup of information that has now been filtering into his brain from the years and years of his daily reading habit. And this is how he explains it.
Somebody calls me about an investment in a business or an investment in securities. I usually know in 2 or 3 minutes whether I have an interest, and I don't waste any time with the ones in which I don't have an interest. I always worry a little bit about even appearing rude, because I can tell very, very, very quickly whether it's going to be something that's will lead to something.
Isn't that so cool? And just stop and think. If you're worth $145 billion, everybody and their mother is pitching you their business idea. So he is hearing business ideas of the most wide-ranging industries and inventions and problems that people are trying to solve. And this guy knows within 2 or 3 minutes whether or not this specific investment opportunity is unique and meaningful. How does he do that? He does it because of this first habit of billionaires: daily reading. He has leaned into learning through reading every single day, and that has allowed him to filter through information quickly and tap into a lifetime of investing in this knowledge in his brain. And, you know, when I really reflect on this, I'm not a billionaire, obviously. But one of the things that people have said to me over and over and over again, especially since launching this podcast, is that I have this innate ability to synthesize very complicated information. You know, like you and I might be talking to a neuroscientist or a medical researcher or somebody that has this really dense and intellectual thing that they're trying to explain to you and me here on this podcast. And I just seem to have this ability to listen and then go zzz, and distill it down to the simplest thing that you can take away from this complicated stuff that they are teaching us on this podcast. And as I listen to Warren Buffett, I'm realizing For the last 14 years, I have been heads down reading every single day and researching the topic of psychology and happiness and human behavior. It all began because I was trying to help myself out of a very dark hole that I was in 14 years ago. And it's just spiraled into this habit of learning and reading every day. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this is available to you. If you make it a habit to feed your brain information every single day in any category or any field that you want to learn more about, you're going to build a knowledge bank. You're going to create filters in your mind, just like Warren Buffett has done, just like I've done over these last 14 years, that helps you synthesize information, draw connections, and like Warren Buffett, make faster decisions. And by the way, one more thing you can learn from Warren Buffett as a habit is make it a habit to do things that you're scared to do, that you know are going to improve you. They're going to help you achieve your goals. And one of those things for Warren Buffett was public speaking. He talked about this in that same Arizona State interview. I want you to hear it straight from him.
I was terrified of speaking in public when I was in high school. I avoided any class that would require it, and in college. And then I finally signed up for a Dale Carnegie course. When I got out of school, I realized I had to talk to people, and I spent $100. I got this little diploma. I proposed to my wife during the term of the course, so I really got my money's worth there. But in terms of public speaking, I really had to force myself on that.
He's such an eloquent speaker, and he's just so comfortable and relaxed as he's speaking. You just kind of feel like you're talking to an uncle or, somebody that you're related to. He's so relatable, and he's worth $145 billion. That's pretty amazing. So you would never think this guy was terrified of public speaking when he was younger? That doesn't make sense. But actually it does, and here's why. Learning how to speak in public is one of the most important life skills that you can force yourself to get better at. And I use the word force yourself because the number one fear for most people is speaking in public. You want to know the number two fear? Dying. So for most people, the idea of getting up on a stage or holding a microphone or speaking in front of other people is terrifying. However, you can learn how to do this because it's a skill, and you do want to get better at public speaking. And so borrow this habit from Warren Buffett. Force yourself to do it. Because the more that you force yourself to speak in public, the more that you force yourself to just speak up with your friends, with your family, with your roommates, speaking at work, the more comfortable you will become. And if you're really terrified, you need to do what Warren Buffett did. Sign up for a class, because the class is going to make you do it. The class is going to make you stand in front of other people and actually learn the skill of speaking. Now, I don't know if it's going to lead to you proposing to somebody. It sure could, and it'll definitely make that proposal better. But the second that you realize that these skills, the skills of gaining knowledge, the skills of becoming a good public speaker so that you can advocate for yourself, you can express yourself, you can walk into a room, whether it's at work or home or giving a toast at somebody's wedding, and feel comfortable doing it, that is a life skill that will make your life better. Alrighty, thank you, Warren Buffett. Let's move on to the second billionaire, the one and only T-Swizz, man. Let's go. I love Taylor Swift. I'm a huge fan of Taylor Swift. I'm so excited. I took our daughters to see the Eras tour. It was worth every single penny that we paid to go see it. I love her. She is one of the most successful and famous musicians of all time. And the thing about Taylor Swift is she's not just a songwriter, she's a prolific songwriter and so highly regarded for this. And I'll just give you an example. The latest album she released, The Tortured Poets Department, came with 16 songs and 3 bonus tracks. But she wasn't done there. Boom, she dropped a surprise anthology containing songs 17 through 31. So plus the bonus tracks, we're talking 34 songs all of a sudden, within 2 years, done, dropped, out. Wow. And check this out. All 31 songs debuted on the Billboard 100, and she took over the top 14 spots. This was the first time this had happened in Billboard history. And I want to share with you a habit that Taylor Swift has. This is all about how she writes her song. And to set this up, you're going to hear a clip from an interview that she did in 2015 with singer-songwriter Ryan Adams about her songwriting process. And Ryan asked her this question, Taylor, how do you keep all this information in one place? And this is what she said. And for you on YouTube, I can't play the clip. This is pretty fascinating. Taylor Swift, anything with her voice is on lock. And so I don't want to throw up the video because this video would then get shut down. And so I'm just going to read verbatim what she said in response to Ryan's question. Taylor says, when I'm pre-writing, which is what I'm always doing, like right now, I'm not actively making an album. If I get an idea that I feel is a cool observation and a cool lyric, I just write it down. I type it into this endless notepad on my phone. Here's what I want you to take away from that. Anything that you want to be better at, make it a daily practice. So if you notice, Warren Buffett said he was reading daily because he was interested in building more knowledge and constantly learning. Taylor Swift, even when she is not actively writing an album, she has a daily habit of capturing ideas in one place. And she's using this notepad on her phone. This is genius. And the reason why this is genius is because I'm sure you've had the experience probably every day where you have this great idea and you tell yourself, I got to write that down. I got to remember that. And a minute later, you don't remember it at all. She has made it a habit to every single day. I got an idea, boom, I take it out of my head and I make it real and I ground it in the real world by typing it into my phone. I freaking love this. And that's not all that she talked about. She then goes on in this interview to explain, now that she's got this long, just sort of word thing of ideas, random stuff that she's just been putting into her phone every single day. Here she is taking a step further in this interview with Ryan Adams, talking about the second stage of the song process. And so, I'm going to read the second part of this interview for you on YouTube. She then explains to Ryan Adams exactly how she uses this long notepad in her phone of just random ideas. So she says, when I was writing Blank Space, I wrote the chorus and thought, all right, I need to search through all my lyrics that I thought of in the last year that have to do with this sort of like over dramatic kind of luxe visual that I want to paint. And so then she goes into her phone and she starts swiping through and she cherry picks lines like, darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream. You know that song, things like that. Those are things that I had thought of at any time through the entire year. How cool. Now, let's just stop and think about how smart this is and how that sets you up as a habit for profound success. Because she has made it a habit to take the ideas that jump into her head and yank them out of the subconscious and ground them in the real world by writing them down, she now has an ongoing library that she can access in the future. If a year from now, she were in the middle of writing a song, she was like, oh gosh, what was it? I had that epiphany that one day I was walking the dog. What the thing was the thing that I thought? The idea is gone. It's gone. And the same is true for you. If you try to hold on to all the amazing ideas that pop into your head, you're just going to forget them. They're going to come and they're going to go. And so I want you to steal this habit. And here's one way that you can put this to work right now. You're going to steal something that my husband does. My husband has this little like notebook that is probably, I don't know, maybe it's like 3.5 inches wide. Like it's a tiny little notebook that can sit in the back pocket of a pair of khakis. The man always has it on him. If we're driving in the car, it's out of his back pocket and it's sitting there right in between us in his truck. And every day, if he has an idea, whether he's walking in the woods or he's sitting at a stop sign or he's cooking dinner, he has this billionaire habit. He pulls the notebook out, he pulls it out of his head and he writes it down. And this has been since I've known the man, and we've been together for 30 years. He has probably 50 of these things, if I come to think of it. Now, for me, I'm really inspired by this. And I don't know if it's the ADHD or the dyslexia or just complete disorganization. I'm going to own all that. I have tried notebooks. I've tried those Moleskine journals. Right now, I'm working on a system where I'm using 3x5 note cards, and they're all over the frickin' place. I have in my Instagram, I don't know if you do this on Instagram, but I've organized all these folders that I can save things into. I don't have a system yet. But here's what I do know. This is 1000% a habit of billionaires, to take your great ideas and get them out of your head and get them on paper so that you're building a resource that you can come back to. And you know what? I guess I'm going to try the Notes app, just like Taylor Swift. All righty, you ready for habit number 3 from billionaires? Let's move on to LeBron James. Now, LeBron James is famous not only for being one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but what I love is he is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and he's also one of the oldest. What's remarkable about LeBron James is the longevity and maintaining this elite level of performance across 2 decades in the NBA, and not just playing in the NBA, dominating, and also launching all these other businesses that have turned him into a billionaire. How does he do it? What is the habit for LeBron James that really helps him show up and just peak performance? And I love this interview that you're about to hear, because this is an interview that I found that he did on a podcast at the I Promise School. Now, you may not be aware of this, but one of the cool things that LeBron James has done is that he is the founder of the I Promise School in his hometown of Akron, Ohio, that is dedicated to educating kids at a high risk of slipping through the cracks of the education system. And LeBron's involvement goes way beyond funding. He actively participates in shaping the school's mission and programs. And one of the things that I also love is that there's a lot of kids in this school that have learning disabilities and language-based learning differences, which is something I struggle with. Our son went to a school like this. And so I just love that he has given back and founded this school and is really involved in it. And one of the things that he's involved in is this podcast that is hosted by the students. And so here's LeBron James. Just imagine, he's literally like sitting across from one of the students in the school. He's like in a little chair and he's got a little microphone, and the kid who's interviewing him has like bright headphones on, you know, kind of like the color that a kid would wear. And on this podcast, one of the kids asks him, "What's one specific thing that you do, LeBron James, to practice self-care?" Check his answer out.
What's one specific thing that you do to practice self-care?
What I do to practice self-care is I sleep. I love to sleep. I have to get my 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours plus. I think that's the best way to re-energize your body, re-energize your mind, re-energize your spirit, re-energize everything. You know, when you sleep, you have great dreams, you come up with great ideas. And at the same time, you're giving your body an opportunity to rest. So you're killing a lot of birds with one stone at the same time. So I think, sleeping is something that's very, very important on a day-to-day basis.
Would you ever think that one of the top habits for billionaire LeBron James is prioritizing sleep? When he's on the road for games, he has talked about this in several clips. He tries to get 10 to 12 hours of sleep at night. And you know what? That's not the only time that LeBron James has talked about the importance of sleep in an interview. So this next clip, I just freaking love this thing, because this is from a post-game interview in December of 2021. And this is after a huge week where he has been flying all over the country, playing several games. He is just dominating in his career. He has just dominated all week. He's 37 years old. He's at the top of the game. And this reporter asks him, you know, aside from the decades of practice that you've been doing and just all of this talent that you have, what is the secret for your stamina? Check out LeBron's answer. I freaking love this.
Sleep. Sleep and inspiration for my son and his team. I got some pretty good sleep in OKC, the night we got in and the day of the game. And, yesterday I was pretty tired, flying and things of that nature. But watching those guys and watching my son and his team play, I got some energy from that. And then I got some more sleep today, and was able to come in with some energy and put it on the floor.
Just because it's, so obvious how much energy you're playing with, like how many hours of sleep are we talking about? Like what's a good night to sleep for you?
I slept last night from 12 to 8. I got up, ate breakfast, and I went back to sleep from 8:30 to 12:30.
I love that. And you know what I need? I need to send that clip to my husband, because the next time he gets up at 5:30 in the morning and he comes back in our bedroom and I'm still laying there at 7 a.m., I'm going to be like, dude, I'm working on my stamina. Habit, LeBron James. I love that. And, this is genius, because one of the things that you and I have learned together on the Mel Robbins podcast is how important sleep is. We've had two incredible world-renowned sleep experts on this show. Dr. Poe out on the West Coast, Dr. Robbins here on the East Coast. And what we have learned is amazing, that sleep really is the free superpower habit. We know that sleeping helps you clean out your brain, that while you're sleeping, you get all the junk out of your brain so that you're ready to start fresh the next day. It's like that Zamboni that's cleaning off the ice. We also know that if you don't sleep, you don't clean out the junk in your brain and you can't be as sharp as you otherwise might be. It also helps repair and boost your immune system. A full night's sleep helps your body recover from stress and illness. And the other thing that we've learned is muscle memory and neural pathways. All of the learning during the day, whether you're learning how to be a better basketball player or you're reading like Warren Buffett does about investing, all of that learning actually takes hold in your brain and your body while you're sleeping. You've not only learned this from the world's leading researchers on sleep, now one of the top athletes in the world is telling you that the habit of sleeping is a superpower, and it's free. Yet another habit from a billionaire that I want you to steal. The fourth habit of billionaires comes from none other than Sarah Blakely. Sarah Blakely is famous for founding Spanx. You know Spanx? Spanx is the OG. Spanx was the first shapewear brand that revolutionized the fashion industry by creating shapewear, the suck you in kind of shapewear that was comfortable. Like no corsets and cinching up and pinchy stuff that you got to wear. We're talking body slimming, hold it all together while still smooth and comfy, and you can breathe. Now, I've never met Sarah. I have admired her from afar. I follow her online. Her story is so inspiring. We got to get her on the Mel Robbins podcast because she is a fantastic storyteller. Now, Sarah started Spanx with just $5,000 in savings. And her journey to becoming a self-made billionaire is absolutely jaw-dropping and entertaining. And there is a habit in her story that you are going to steal, okay? Because she got her big break with her product, because she got her product into Neiman Marcus. I mean, talk about starting at the top. Holy cow. And she reflected on how this happened in this interview. Check this out.
Neiman Marcus was my first account. And two things about that are just something that I reflect back on. One is everybody in the industry after I landed Neiman's came up to me and said, how in the world did you land Neiman Marcus? And I would look at them and I'd say, I called them.
This is why I love Sarah. It's so obvious, isn't it? I called them. And sometimes the most obvious thing to do isn't so obvious, is it? And in fact, she reflected in this interview on why simply picking up the phone and calling the account, the dream account that she wanted, was so unusual.
And I would look at them and I'd say, I called them. What do you do? And they'd say, oh my God, we go to trade shows and we set up a booth and we've been doing it for 7 years and everybody says around year 6 or 7 that you get a chance with Neiman's. I didn't even know there were trade shows. So I often say what you don't know can be your greatest asset if you let it. If you're not intimidated by the self-talk of, I have no idea what I'm doing, and that shuts you down. So if you can power through the, I have no idea what I'm doing, and actually see it as a positive and go, that means I'm gonna do it different.
I 1000% agree. You know what's such a shame is that you talk yourself out of doing so many things because you say, I don't know how to do this. And what Sarah is telling you is her success came because she didn't know any better, because she didn't follow what everybody else was doing, because she's like, okay, if I want to be at Neiman Marcus, why not just pick up the phone, figure out who the buyer is, and start cold calling them? And if you don't know any better, you might just do better than everybody else that thinks they know what to do. And this is so important of a habit. Make the call. This is the habit from Sarah Blakely. You don't get what you don't ask for. You have to make the call. You have to send the DM. You have to show up. You got to send the letter. You don't get what you don't ask for. And what I love about Sarah is that she didn't sit around at a trade show and hope that somebody walked by. She put herself on a collision course with the thing that she wanted. She asked for what she wanted. She made the call. That is a habit of a billionaire. That is something you can do starting today. There is a person that you want to ask out, make the call. There is something that you want to do at work, have the conversation. There is someone that you want to pitch, DM them, send them a FedEx, figure it out, find out who the buyer is, and make the call, because you don't get what you're not willing to ask for. And she reflected a little bit more, and I want you to hear this, because the only thing that's preventing you from making the call and asking for what you want is your own self-talk. You're the one that is telling yourself you can't do this. You're the one that's telling yourself you don't know. You're the one that's telling yourself you're not ready. It's complete garbage. You don't get what you're not willing to ask for. And by the way, if there's somebody in your life that you're like, oh boy, they need to hear this, send them this and let Sarah Blakely and Mel Robbins give them the pep talk and the habits of billionaires that they need to institute in their life. And I want to go back into Sarah's story about how exactly she got into Neiman Marcus, because it's one thing to make the phone call. I mean, that is a great move because you don't get what you don't ask for. But now she's got one chance to go from that cold call to Neiman Marcus to actually getting this buyer to put her product in Neiman Marcus. So you're about to hear Sarah tell the story about walking into the intimidating headquarters of Neiman Marcus in Dallas. She's flown there from Atlanta. Here's Sarah.
Got a chance to go and cold call Neiman Marcus. I flew on a plane from Atlanta, where I live, to Dallas, and I met with the buyer, and she was impeccably dressed. I'm in the intimidating Neiman's headquarters. I had my lucky red backpack from college. I had the prototype in a Ziploc bag from my kitchen and a color copy of the packaging that I had created on my friend's computer. And halfway through my pitch, I was telling her what it is, and I could tell I was losing her. You know, after 7 years of cold calling and trying to sell things to people, you get really good at reading nonverbals. And I always say nonverbals tell you way more than the verbal.
And she goes on in the story. She knew she was losing this woman because you can always tell when you're losing somebody. They start looking around, or they look at their phone, or they say, that sounds great, but they're shaking their head no. And so she was picking up on all these clues. And I want to ask you something. What would you do in that situation? Because I'll tell you what most people would do. They would panic. Not Sarah Blakely. What is the habit that Sarah's teaching you? You have to make the call. You have to make the ask, because you don't get what you're not willing to ask for. And so what did Sarah do? She asked for what she wanted.
I just stopped and said, you know what, Diane, will you come to the bathroom with me? And she literally was like, excuse me? I'm like, I know it's a little weird, but can you just follow me to the bathroom, and I'm going to actually show you what my product can do. I'm going to go in the stall. And she was like, oh, okay. And she walked down the hall, and I went in the stall, and I put it on under my white pants, and I came out. So I showed her before, and then I showed her with the product on, and she just sat there, and she goes, I get it. It's brilliant, and I'm going to try it in 7 stores.
Boom. Go, Sarah. She went from $5,000 and her red backpack from college, her product in a Ziploc bag, and a printout from a friend's computer of the sample of the packaging, to getting into 7 stores in Neiman Marcus. And that went all the way to a $1.2 billion company. That's how you do it. First of all, make the call, because you don't get what you don't ask for. And the second thing is stop talking yourself out of it. Doing things differently differentiates you. All right, we got 2 more to go. And I want to jump right now into habit number 5, which comes from legendary video game designer Shigeru Miyamoto. Now, Shigeru Miyamoto is not technically a billionaire, but in my book, he should be. Why? Because Miyamoto is the legendary video game designer behind some of the most iconic gaming franchises in history. Ever heard of Super Mario? Uh-huh. The Legend of Zelda? Uh-huh. And the game that I spent my entire childhood playing? Donkey Kong. He is referred to as the father of modern video games and is celebrated for his innovative contributions that has shaped the video game industry and popular culture. And personally, since gaming is a gajillion-dollar industry and he's the father of it, I'm just going to crown him an official billionaire. What is his habit that you're going to steal? His habit is that he regularly just wanders city streets and parks and allows himself to observe people and environments. And this habit of wandering and people watching has inspired all of the game worlds and the characters that he's created. And it helps him to be creative. Now, I don't have any audio from Shigeru Miyamoto, but we do have something that the acclaimed neuroscientist from MIT and King's College London, Dr. Tali Sharot, told us all about why this habit of wandering and changing your routine and stepping into new environments or learning new things, why this matters so much. Dr. Sharot runs the Effective Brain Lab at University College London and MIT. She's known as one of the most renowned psychology researchers that are out there in the world today. And one thing that she researches is this concept called habituation. That's just a fancy word that explains that your brain and my brain, it gets used to the things that you do over and over. And in order to be creative, in order to be inspired, in order to think outside of the box, you have to put yourself in different situations. In fact, she explained it this way when she appeared on the Mel Robbins podcast.
Whatever kind of life you have, you can actually shake things up a little bit. It can be something small, like how do you commute to work? What route do you take to work? It could be small like that. Or it could be like, maybe take a course and it could be something online. Okay. So maybe you don't have the money to pay for like but take up a new skill or listen to a new podcast, right? So try to change things, or maybe start talking to someone or befriend someone who's different from the normal kind of people that you tend to interact. I'm not even, like their personality is not the type that you usually are interacting with. And by diversifying, we are doing a few things. We are dishabituating because now, we have different inputs that we're not used to.
So just like Shigeru Miyamoto is dehabituating his own creative process by wandering through new neighborhoods, which then allows him to make new connections, you can do the same thing. And as Dr. Sharot just explained, you can do it by stepping into a new environment. You can do it by creating new habits. You can do it by taking a class that has you learn new things, which creates new inputs and ways of thinking. You can do it by simply hanging out with people that aren't exactly like you. All of these things create new connections in your mind that help stimulate creativity, which is one of the habits of billionaires. And there are so many examples of successful and inspiring people that are doing this out in the world. In fact, one of the most acclaimed and celebrated writers of our time, Maya Angelou, whenever she would write, she would rent a small hotel room to write in. Why? Because of all this research that you just heard Dr. Sharot talk about. She believed the unfamiliar environment and the lack of distractions helped her focus entirely on her work. So she'd rent the small room. What would she bring? A dictionary, a Bible, a deck of cards, and check out the last one, bottle of sherry. Frickin' love that. In fact, Christopher Robbins does the same thing. He is getting his master's right now, and he's also working on his first book. So 3 days a week, he goes down to a local coffee shop, and he says that getting out of our house and his office and into a different environment where there's all kinds of people coming in and out, and it's got different sounds, it just is a place where he's way more creative. You can steal this idea too. This habit of getting out of your routine, wandering, putting yourself in environments that open up new ideas and new experiences that bring new connections and energy into your life. I freaking love this. And again, I'm just going to keep on pointing out, these are free. Every one of these habits are free. The only thing that's going to keep you from doing these habits is you. And you already heard Sarah Blakely say, do not do that. Do not listen to the self-talk. Whether it is a habit of reading every day and forcing yourself to learn a skill that you're scared to learn, like public speaking, or whether it is getting more sleep because you know it's going to help you perform better, whether you make it a habit to take all those creative ideas that you're going to get from the habit of wandering around and you get them on paper, or you get them on a notes app, or you put them on a note card so you establish this library of ideas to come back to, or whether you're going to be like Sarah Blakely and the habit is make the call because you don't get what you don't ask for. And that brings me to habit number 6 of billionaires. And this one comes from my dear friend, Jamie Kern-Lima. Jamie became a billionaire for co-founding IT Cosmetics, which she sold to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion. That made her the first female CEO of the L'Oreal brand in history. And she is well known for her inspirational journey as an entrepreneur and for just this relentless ability to trust her gut. In her words, she calls that the difference between your knowing in your heart versus the no's that you're going to get from the outside world. Now, Jamie has appeared twice on the Mel Robbins podcast. She is one of your favorite guests to listen to, and her habit is very simple. Listen to your knowing. Here's Jamie.
Inside, in our gut, if we get still, if we listen to our soul, right, we get a knowing, an intuition, a still small voice, a gut feeling. Every single moment in your life, in your friendships, in your joy, in your, goals and dreams and ambitions, I believe, Mel, they come down to which one you listen to. Do you listen to the no's or do you listen to your knowing? And this is the most important thing because our self-doubt will lie to us all day long. It will lie to us all day long. And when we get still and ask ourselves, is that the truth, right? And you tune into your gut, your gut will tell you the right answer. I don't believe your gut is ever wrong. I believe that it either leads you to the next right step or the next right lesson.
I am going to repeat that. Your gut is not wrong. Because your gut is leading you where you are meant to go. And oftentimes, your gut does lead you to a rejection or a no. Why? Because you need that lesson. You need that in order to know the next right step. It is all ordered for you. And your job is to trust your knowing, to tune into your gut, and to take action based on what you know to be true in your heart. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you that all 6 of the habits that you and I have learned today are things that I think you know in your gut these are true. Not just because of the example of these extraordinarily successful and inspiring people, but because you know in your soul that this is how you do remarkable things. It's how you tap into your own potential. And it's how you create things in your life that truly surprise you. I mean, I do this podcast because I do see a bigger future for you. And you and I can be inspired by and borrow from the habits of these extraordinary billionaires. And so let me just make sure you got them all tucked underneath your arm and you're going to take them with you today. And you're going to share these with the people that you care about. And that first habit is from Warren Buffett. Read every day to improve your mind, to make yourself smarter, to build these filters of knowledge that will help you be a better decision maker, that will help you be smarter in life. That is something you can start doing today. And he also wanted to remind you to push yourself to do things that you're scared of so that you build skills in life that are important, like public speaking. And you don't have to do this on your own. There are so many classes out there that will create the container where you can learn the skill. But it's on you to push yourself through that fear and do it. And let today's episode be the thing that does it. Go sign up. Second habit that you learned. Get those amazing ideas that you have out of your head and get them down on paper or in a notes app so that they live in reality. so that when you have that brain space and that time to come back and check out all the things that you've been thinking of, you've created this amazing library of inspiration for yourself. And the other thing that I love about this habit is every time you do that, you are honoring your own wisdom. You are saying this idea and this insight is worthy of me remembering it. And I'm doing it through my action of getting it in the notes app or this little notebook or the note card or however your system is, just get it in the physical space. The third habit that you've learned is from the one and only LeBron James. And it's about the power of sleep. How is he dominated in the NBA? Yes, it's about talent. Yes, it's about decades of excruciatingly hard work. But how does he keep going? It's about at least 8 hours of sleep a night. And if he doesn't get that, he goes back to bed. How freaking amazing. The fourth habit that you're going to steal, Sarah Blakely, make the call, because you don't get what you don't ask for in life. And don't you dare be sitting there listening to that self-doubt. I don't know what I'm doing. Is this different? When you do it differently, it differentiates you. Make the call. The fifth habit that you learned about from Shigeru Miyamoto, the grandfather of the video gaming industry. Change up your environment. Shake things up. Meet people that aren't like you. Purposefully wander around and seek out new knowledge or different classes or different people. Why? Because it shakes up all the stuff in your head. It shakes up all the stuff in your nervous system. And it shakes loose all of these genius things that are inside of you that are trapped by the mundane, habitual nature of your day. This is free, by the way. Free for you to do. Habits of billionaires. And finally, the sixth habit that you and I are going to take today from none other than Jamie Kern-Lima. Listen to your knowing. Even if you take the risk and you fail, you're never going to regret it, because you're going to be proud of yourself for listening to your gut. And what I have learned, what Jamie's learned, what anybody who is successful or remotely has themselves together is going to tell you, is that it's in the hard stuff, it's in the rejection, it's in the no's that you learn the most important lessons that you need that lead to the greatest successes and happiness in your life. It just is the way that life is. And the hardest thing about it is you got to trust it and you got to go through it. But what I'm excited about is now you and I have 6 super simple, achievable daily habits that the billionaires themselves have told you work for them. And I guarantee you they're going to work for you. And one more thing, I wanted to be sure to tell you that I love you and I believe in you and I believe in your ability to create a better life. And there is no doubt in my mind, if you were to make these 6 things a habit, your life will get better. Today, we're talking about a topic that I'm getting a ton of questions about, like this one from Sarah.
Hey Mel, this is Sarah, and I have a question.
Are there actually ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time, or is this a dangerous misconception?
Yes, Sarah, there is a way to unlock sudden change, and it's called habits. And that's what we're all going to talk about today. You and I are going to talk about the science of habits. I want to repeat Sarah's question because I want to make sure that we unpack a couple elements in it, and then we're going to jump into the science of habits. So Sarah's question was this: are there ways to unlock sudden, rapid steps to big change in a short period of time, or is this a dangerous misconception? Now, I said yes. There is a way for you to experience big change in a short period of time if you change how you view yourself. I mean, that's the biggest kind of change that you can experience. When you change your identity, when you change what you believe is possible, that's transformational. Now, one of the things that Sarah said, though, is she asked, is it a dangerous misconception to think that big change happens immediately? And that brings me to the topic of habits. See, change doesn't happen overnight. But when you understand the science of habits, what you realize is that change, little change, it compounds daily. And the massive change that you experience in a short period of time when you focus on habit formation is how you relate to yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you set a goal that this is the year that you are going to run your first marathon. You're going to train for it. You're going to finish the race. Now, it will take time. It's going to take you time to achieve that goal. But if you make it a habit to wake up every day and get out the door and go for that training run, within a matter of days, something kind of crazy happens. You experience this massive change because you start to see yourself differently. You start to see yourself as a runner. Now, have you achieved that goal yet? No. That's going to take time. But the power of habits is that as you practice them, they start to change your identity. They become evidence that you're the kind of person that goes for a run. So in the beginning, habits are just something that you and I do. But over time, habits change who you are. So I'm excited for this because if you're somebody who's struggling to change, like maybe you're trying to become a better student, or you want to be better with your money, or more organized, or you'd love a rock solid morning routine, or how about carving out the time to put yourself first? That'd be a great habit. Or this is the year that you're going to become better at sleeping. You're going to make it a habit to go to bed earlier. Or I'm seeing a lot of you writing in with questions about launching a new business. You want to make it a habit to work on it. I see that. That's awesome. You're going to love this episode and everything you're about to learn because habits are the evidence that you see that you're becoming a different person. And that shows up before you achieve the goal that you set. And this is why the science is so powerful. One of the other things I want to remind you is that this episode on the science of habits, it's part of a month-long series that I'm doing where you and I are covering the foundational topics that you need to understand and apply to your life so that you can create a better life. And just a few days ago, I released an episode on goal setting. And if you've listened to it, fantastic. If you haven't listened to it, no problem. It's there. You can listen to it at any time. Listen to it right after you finish this one. In fact, all the episodes this month work together. They stand alone. Listen to them in any order. It's totally cool. And you're going to also see that there's a big connection between setting goals the right way, according to research, and how habits are an integral part of that. Today, what we're going to cover is you're going to learn what a habit is. And even if you think you know what a habit is, I want you to listen. Because research shows that most of us think we know, but we don't actually know what a habit is or how to apply what we know to making a habit stick. The other thing that we're going to cover is the 3 parts of a habit. These 3 parts are required. This is all grounded in decades and decades of research. And you need these 3 parts present in order to encode that habit into your brain as a brand new automatic behavior. And that's where really like the secret sauce comes in. We're also going to talk about how these 3 parts and understanding them, it's essential not only to forming new habits, but you need to understand these 3 parts because they help you break the bad or old habits that you're tired of in your life. And here's one more thing I want to say up front. I promise this is going to be really eye-opening and it's going to be somewhat of a relief. Because the science of habits, everybody gets all fancy and researchy and neuroscience and psychology and biology. But the truth is, habits are pretty simple. The research on habits has not changed in years and years and years and years and years, decades really. And the way that I explain the science of habits is so simple that even your puppy could understand it. I'm not kidding. There are only 3 steps to making a habit stick. That's it. And so even if you've listened to a bazillion episodes about habits, even if you've read a ton of books out there, I want you to stick around and stay with me on this. Because according to the 2 women that created all the research that absolutely everybody cites, you may have heard that there are 3 parts to the habit. Well, you can thank Dr. Ann Grabiel at MIT and Dr. Wendy Wood at USC for creating the fact that there are 3 essential parts to every habit. These 2 researchers, they are the founders, the grandmothers of habit research. Every book that you've read is working on their research. Every podcast interview, they're talking about their research. Nothing has changed about habit research in decades. But here's the issue. Those 2 women will tell you, even if you think you know habits, you still struggle with making behavior stick. And so my mission today is to make this so simple that you don't have a problem implementing the research anymore. Because I think there's a reason why none of us implement these 3 essential parts of a habit, even if we know about them. And there are 2 reasons why. Number 1, we get all emotional about what we need to do. We know the 3 things that make up a habit, and yet we have like feelings and opinions and all that stuff about it. That's number 1. And number 2, we human beings overcomplicate everything. We talk about habits. We think we're so fancy and educated. We can fly to the moon. We can drive in electric cars. We can do all these amazing things. And I think we forget that when it comes to habits, it's just these 3 things. It has nothing to do with your feelings. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. In fact, Dr. Wendy Wood says almost nobody understands what habits are. And so you may know the definition. You may know the 3 things that you're about to learn. But when you are put to the test, are you actually able to make changes and get them to stick? No, not really. So Dr. Wendy Wood has determined that almost everybody gets this wrong, which is why we're going to simplify this. So let's just start with the basics. What is a habit? A habit is something that you do so often that it's automatic. That's it. That's all that a habit is. There's no drama. There's no resistance. There's no feelings involved in it. I like to think about it like a habit is something that you do that you don't even think about. And you certainly don't put up a fight about it, right? Here are some examples of habits in your life. Brushing your teeth, looking over your right shoulder when you're backing up in the car, or if you're in the US, that's what you do. For our fans of the podcast over in the UK, you're probably looking over the left shoulder. You don't even think about that, do you? You got to back up, you just turn and look. You get something to eat when you're hungry, that's a habit. You check email first thing in the morning, that's a habit. When you hear your name, don't you turn your head and look in the direction of it? That's a habit. Why are habits awesome? I'll tell you why habits are awesome. Because when a behavior becomes automatic, there's 0 drama in your life. It's just so much easier. Like, I'll give you my husband. The man is Mr. Habit. He just rolls out of bed like nothing's happened. He gets up, he gets dressed, he meditates, he goes to the gym, he walks the dog, he journals. He does it automatically. No drama. There are certainly areas in my life where I would love to be less dramatic, less emotional, less resistant to the things that I want to do. I'd love to just sort of roll through it like my husband does. And so let's not just make this like a conversation. Let's move from listening to doing. If I could take a science-backed magic wand and I could remove all the resistance that you feel in your body, what is one behavior change that you would like to make? One new habit, or, sometimes it's easier to say, what's a bad habit you'd like to break? Do you chew your nails? Do you hit the snooze button 5 times? Said in the positive, what's a new habit you'd like to create? Would you like to exercise every day? Do you want to get your finances in order and be more responsible with money? I'm going to give you a few examples, okay? Would you love to be the kind of person where part of your routine is to get outside and exercise every day? Or how about the kind of person who keeps your room or your desk clean, or you have a 0 inbox? That'd be pretty awesome. Would you like to be the kind of person that gets up 30 minutes earlier than you do right now? Just rolls right out of bed like my husband does? Or how about the kind of person who feels comfortable in social settings? You push yourself out there a little bit more. You, push through that discomfort. You feel a little bit more outgoing. Maybe you want to make it a habit to meditate and feel like you're the kind of person that's more mindful. That's where the science of habits is so important. And so now that you've kind of stopped to think, what's a habit I want to break, or what's a behavior change I want to make, the kind of person I want to become, I have a free worksheet that's a companion to this episode that you can download. You can go to melrobbins.com/habits, and it will serve as a guide to this episode. It's going to help you apply everything that we talk about in this episode. Now, why do habits matter so much? I'll tell you why habits matter. You've learned one reason, and that has to do with identity, right? But the real reason why habits matter is because learning new habits are the only way to go from what your day-to-day life looks like right now to something different. It's the only way. It's the bricks on the pathway to changing your life. That's what habits are. And habits are evidence. Every time that you get out that door and you go for the run, it's evidence that you are becoming a particular type of person. The other reason why habits are so important is because they make your life easier. I mean, I want you to just stop and consider something. Think about how hard it is to be the kind of person who has a habit of hitting the snooze button 4 or 5 times every morning. And then you drag yourself out of bed. That's a habit. And you start your day chronically late. That's a habit. I used to do this. This was the Mel Robbins that you did not know. I was a chronic snooze button hitter. I would drag myself out of bed. By the time I got out of bed, the kids had missed the bus. I started the day behind. It was a nightmare. It was so hard to have that bad habit. And in order to change, I needed to become a different person. I needed to become a person that got up when the alarm rang, that had a morning routine, and that organized my morning so that I would begin the day with a sense of accomplishment. That's what I wanted. Instead of beginning the day like I was behind and I was already failing before I got out of bed. And the gateway to making that change is changing your habits in the morning. When you have habits that support you and your goals and the kind of person you want to become, your life gets easier. And that's why habits truly matter. Sure, you could muscle your way out of bed every morning. You could drag yourself to the gym. You could berate yourself endlessly until you got more motivated and aggressive and vocal at work. But that change is never going to stick. It's never going to become automatic. It's never going to become who you are. Why? Because you're forcing yourself. You're relying on willpower and brute force to push through the bad habits that you have of sleeping in or staying silent or blowing things off or procrastinating. And that's where these 3 steps come in. What I'm going to teach you today doesn't require willpower. You're going to learn how to use science to make new behavior a part of your wiring. This resistance thing, it is so important. And I think we underestimate how much bad habits are in our life and running our lives and how it's making your life harder. So I'm going to give you a simple example of a habit that I currently have so that I can really unpack this resistance thing, okay? So I have a habit of making a cup of coffee every single morning. I love my morning coffee. I do. And it is so automatic, I don't have to think about it. I know how to work the coffee machine. I know how to work the milk foamer. I know exactly where the coffee pods are. I can literally be doing 15 other things while I make a cup of coffee. That's how automatic of a habit it is. It is easy. I don't even think about it. What if I told you that you could make any change in behavior feel as effortless as making a cup of coffee? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I don't stand in front of the coffee maker and go, oh, it's raining outside. I don't want any coffee. I don't feel like it today. I'm too tired. I don't want to. No, it's a habit, so I just do it. And I'm saying this because this is what the research says. The research says when you apply the 3 things that you're about to learn to every behavior change, whether it's breaking an old habit or learning a new one, you will make your life easier. Another thing that's important for you to hear is that successful people, based on the research from UPenn, they're not smarter than you. They don't have more willpower than you. You know what they have? They have what Chris has, my husband. They just put in the work to create better habits that make them feel successful and make their life easier. And the more you apply what you're about to learn, the more behavior change you can stack along the way. You can create a chain of behavior change. It's so cool. Just like Chris rolls out of bed and walks into the bathroom and brushes his teeth and doesn't even think about it and then gets on his exercise clothes, then goes and meditates. Like, that's a chain of behavior. That's a chain of habits. He doesn't even think about it. Because every new habit that you want to create, it's the exact same 3-step process. I am telling you, do not overcomplicate this. Do not think you're fancy. Whether you want to break a bad habit or you want to encode new ones, let's not overcomplicate this. And I know what you're thinking, Mel, if this is so simple, why is it so hard to get to the gym? Why can I not stop emotional eating? Why am I chewing my nails? Why is it easy to talk about it but hard to make it stick? Just accept at face value what you're about to learn. You and I learn new behavior the exact same way a new puppy does. And I'm going to prove it to you. Not everything in life needs to be so hard or so complicated. So let's all just take a deep breath because we're about to make habits easy. And this is why, by the way, the research shows that nobody understands how to apply the research, because we read, oh, it's just these 3 steps. And we're like, no, it can't be. We want to think that we're special, but no, we're not. You are like a puppy. And this is why it's so hard to accept the truth. And you want to know something crazy? So right before I came up here to talk to you about habits, honest to goodness, you know what I was doing? I was standing in my kitchen with my family of 5, and we were in the middle of a dog training session. I'm not making this up. We have a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd named Yolo and a 5-month-old puppy named Homie. And Homie needs new habits. Homie is not going to go from being a puppy to a beautifully trained dog without us training him. You are the same way as Homie. Right now, there are areas of your life where you're doing whatever the hell you want to do, just like my puppy is. And you and I are going to go back to obedience school, back to the basics. That's what habits are about. And as I was sitting there watching this training session with our 2 dogs, I'm thinking, holy smokes, it really is this simple. Simple rules for a simple $1 million morning. Number 1, when the alarm rings, get your ass out of bed. Look, it's your friend Mel. I know there's a million reasons not to get out of bed. But Mel, it's 30 degrees. It's dark. It's raining. It's cold. It's depressing. I got a lot going on. I stayed up late. I'm exhausted. I'm hungover. I'm tired. My stress is through the... None of that matters. The only thing that matters is, do you keep the promises that you make to yourself? And I know I'm getting philosophical here. We were just talking about the alarm ringing. You know what the alarm is? That alarm, when it goes off, that is a promise that you made. You set that alarm, didn't you? You set that alarm the night before. And when that alarm goes off, now it's time to keep the promise. And how do you do that? I'll tell you how you do that. You're going to use my 5-second rule. The alarm is going to ring, and you are going to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you're just going to roll out of bed. That's it. It's not sexy. It's not fun. I have been getting out of bed this way for 14 years, and I still have to count backwards every single morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I don't like getting out of bed. I do not have the discipline to get out of bed. If I have the choice any day of the week to lay in a warm, cozy, amazing bed with bamboo, silky sheets and my husband sleeping next to me, or roll out of bed into the cold bedroom and start my day, I will choose the warm bed every day of the week. But that's not the conversation you and I are having, are we? We're not talking about comfort. We're talking about simple discipline. We're talking about the promises that you need to start to make. We're talking about doing things that are hard and uncomfortable. Why? Because you deserve to have the life that you want. And sometimes feeling like $1 million for the whole day means you got to feel like shit for about 5 seconds. And that's what it's going to take. And this is also about keeping promises. If you can't rely on yourself to get up when the alarm rings, how the hell are you going to rely on yourself to do the really hard stuff? To have the hard conversation, to blow off the party and work on your resume, to get serious about your songwriting career or the second act that you want to create, or finally meeting somebody who's not got so much childhood trauma that you're their therapist and not your lover. If you can't roll out of bed simply because you said you would, when the going gets really rough, you're going to bail on yourself, which is why getting up when the alarm ring matters. Now, there's a second reason why. So the first reason is you're building a level of integrity. You're keeping that promise. The second reason why I don't want you to sit there and lay in bed and I want you to get your ass out of bed when the alarm rings is because let's just, between friends, talk about what we're doing as we're laying there in bed. We're looking at social media. We're indulging our anxiety. We're experiencing trauma triggers. We are riding the wave of cortisol and stress hormones that are flooding through our brain and body. We're bemoaning the hangover we feel. We're spinning negative thoughts about the day ahead or the stuff we didn't do or all the regrets we have because we can't remember what happened last night. That's what you're doing in bed. Let's be honest with each other. Is that what the new you wants to do? Of course not. That's the other reason why, when the alarm rings, rule number 1 to the $1 million morning, get your ass out of bed. Why? Because you're a winner, and you got no time to lay in bed like a loser, like Mel Robbins used to be, and listen to that bullshit and feel those awful feelings. Get your fucking ass out of bed and get on with your day and show your body who's boss, and don't indulge that bullshit in your mind, because the longer you listen to it, the louder it's going to get. And look, I get it. Some days it's really hard. I don't give a shit. All that negative stuff is lying to you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shut it down and get your ass up. Because the fact is, if you want a new life, you're going to have to fight for it. If you want $1 million in the bank and financial freedom, you're going to have to work for it. This stuff isn't easy, but it's simple. But you have to do it. So, number 1, alarm rings, ass out of bed. And here's the final thing I want to talk about when it comes to this. Why are you doing this? You're doing it for you. You see, I think for years and years and years, you were getting out of bed for other people. Think about it. When you were little, when would you get up? You would get up because mom was yelling at you to, or dad was yelling at you to. You were getting up because you had to get to school or make the bus or get to work, or you get out of bed because you got to get the kids up or you got to get your aging parents up. That ends today. Today, when that alarm rings, it is a fucking wake-up call. Ding, ding, ding. Your life is here, and it's time for you to get up for you. So, tomorrow morning, we're not waking up for somebody else. We're not laying in bed and listening to that bullshit, because you get to make a choice. You can choose to do what you've always done, which means you're going to have what you've always had, or you can make a choice to show up as the new you. You can make a promise that you're going to not only wake up, you're going to get up for yourself, that you, my friend, are going to become the driver of your life. And that bullshit story, I'm not a morning person. Fuck morning people. Who cares? This is not about whether or not you feel like it. This is about you building the discipline because you deserve to, because that's the kind of person that you are. And let's also tell one more truth. If I needed you, you would get your ass out of bed for me. If somebody that you loved needed you to set that alarm an hour earlier because they needed a ride to the airport, or they needed somebody to go to a doctor's appointment, or heck, they just needed you to be there for them, you would do it. And so today, starting today, I want you to do it for yourself. And if you can't do that, then let me tell you the science. Okay? You want to know the scientific reason why you should never hit the snooze button? Let me hit you with some neuroscience here. 2 words: sleep inertia. That's right, sleep inertia. When you hit the snooze button, instead of getting your ass out of bed, you mistakenly create a condition in your brain called sleep inertia. Sleep inertia is a state that your brain gets trapped in for 4 hours after you hit the snooze button. Because here's what happens when you hit the snooze button. When you hit the snooze button, you're awake. And as the alarm turns off, your brain then drifts back into sleep. And here's the thing that researchers have figured out. When you drift back to sleep after you've woken up, your brain starts a sleep cycle. And sleep cycles take 75 to 90 minutes to complete. So when that alarm goes off again in 9 minutes, and you're like, oh my God, like, have you ever noticed you're like in deep sleep when you drift back to sleep? That's because you're 9 minutes in to a 75-minute sleep cycle. That groggy, exhausted, heavy feeling that you have when you hit the snooze button several times and you can't quite get awake and you complain that you didn't get a good night's sleep, that's not a function of how well you slept. That's you and me being an idiot for hitting the snooze button and putting our brain in a state of sleep inertia. Because when you hit the snooze button, your brain is now freaking trapped in a sleep cycle. And it takes your brain, based on research, about 4 hours to get through that groggy ass feeling. So the most productive period of the day, which is the first 2 hours after you wake up, it's when your brain has the highest speed of processing. It's when you're the most alert. You just flushed the best 2 hours of brain power down the frickin' toilet because you hit the snooze button. Why am I so passionate about this? Because I wasted years of my life doing this. I was a chronic snooze button alarm hitter. I was also a chronic all-nighter puller in college. I was chronically late with deadlines. This was prolific in my life. I would always complain about not getting enough sleep. The truth is, I lived in a state of sleep inertia. So take your power back. Whether you're inspired by the science, because it's just kind of stupid to do this to yourself once you realize that this is what happens, or you're inspired by this idea that wouldn't it be fucking awesome if instead of waking up feeling obligated to the rest of the world, I took my life back and I started waking up for myself. I started seizing the day. I started seeing that alarm as more than alarm. It is a wake-up call for the rest of my life. So rule number 1 for $1 million morning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get your ass out of bed because you, my friend, have a lot of cool stuff to do. And that brings me to rule number 2. Rule number 2 of the $1 million morning. You ready? Because you deserve to feel like $1 million bucks. You're going to make your bed. That's right. Make your bed. Why, Mel? Why are you making your bed? I'll tell you why. You're making your bed because your morning routine is a series of dominoes that fall, okay? And so by seeing the alarm as a wake-up call to claim the day, to keep the promise, to be the future you, the first domino that falls is integrity and discipline. How cool is that? The second domino that falls is making the bed, which is about completing things. See, normally the old Mel would roll out of bed after hitting the snooze button, and the bed would look like a tsunami hit it. And then for the rest of the day, whenever I walked into the bedroom, you know what I saw? Something that was incomplete. I saw a mess that needed to be made, that I had left for myself to clean up. And so one of the reasons why I love this simple habit as part of your morning routine, always make your bed. And I mean always. If I am traveling for work and I'm staying in a hotel, I make my bed. Even though you know somebody's going to come through and make it even nicer later. I don't care. Why? Because your morning routine is a way for you to be you no matter where you are. If I'm visiting my parents down in Florida or up in Michigan, I make my bed. Why? Because I'm myself no matter where I am. That's the power of your morning routine. This is about the promises you keep. It's about the rhythm in which you start your day. And this is a habit about completing something. Isn't it awesome to think that you start your day by checking a box? That you make your bed because you know it's a way to finish something? And there are mornings, not very often, but there are mornings where Chris might still be sleeping. Maybe I got up a little earlier and he's sleeping in for whatever reason. I just make my side of the bed. I might even tuck in the sheet around him, kind of tuck him in a little bit as a little act of love. But there's another reason why to do this. And I love this framing of it too. Because making your bed is a way to give the future you a gift. Later on, you're going to walk into this bedroom and you're going to lay down and you're going to dream. And isn't it awesome to walk back into this bedroom tonight and there is a beautiful bed made for you, a beautiful place for you to lay down tonight and dream, a little gift from the morning you to the evening you to say you deserve this? It's also a gift because if you walk back into your bedroom, you've already taken care of it. There's nothing to do. There's no mess that's been left for you to clean up. You have left this gift of getting it complete. And that helps to build consistency. And I also love it because it doesn't matter where you are. You can do it wherever you are. Just amazing. And that brings me to rule number 3. We're going to hit the pause button. We're going to hit a word from our sponsors. I love our sponsors because they help me bring this show to you at zero cost. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about rule number 3 of your $1 Million Morning. Hey, it's Mel, and we're talking about a $1 million morning routine. And you deserve that, my friend. So, rule number 1, alarm rings. It is a wake-up call. Your life is waiting. Get your ass out of bed. You got stuff to do. Rule number 2, we're going to make our bed because this is about a series of promises that create a positive domino ripple effect to start your day. And rule number 3, high five habit, baby. You got to get in that bathroom after you brush your teeth and high five yourself in the mirror. Now, I did a whole episode about this, but I'm going to explain it for those of you that are brand new. Here's how we're going to do this. Right after you brush your teeth, and we're going to do it after you brush your teeth because this habit should be paired with something that you already do and you don't even think about. That's called habit stacking, and it's going to help you encode this habit, which is a habit of encouragement, a habit of optimism, a habit of momentum and motivation, a habit of self-love, of self-confidence. This is an incredible science-backed 1-2 punch that all comes down to simply high-fiving yourself in the mirror. So you brush your teeth. You better brush your teeth. I don't even have to say that as part of your morning routines because please do not go out into the world with dragon breath or yellow carpet on your teeth. We're not doing that here on the Mel Robbins Show. All right. I'm assuming that your $1 Million Morning includes scraping the crap off your teeth. So when you're done flossing, brushing, rinsing, spitting, put the toothbrush down. Take a moment. Look the human being in the eyes. You know who I want you to see? I want you to see the future you. I want you to see the $1 million you. I want you to see all your hopes and dreams in the hands of the person in that mirror. And I'll tell you something. That person deserves your support. That person needs your support. And that person needs you to keep a simple promise every single day. You're going to start your day and your $1 million morning with a little huddle with yourself. You're going to set an intention with yourself as you stand there after brushing your teeth. This is so grounded in research. You got to get your mind right. You're going to stand there and decide, who am I going to be today? Is today a day about peace, about freedom? Is it a day about momentum, courage? How am I going to show up today for myself? Who am I going to be? And then when you're ready, just like a winning team does, you are going to raise that hand and you are going to high five the future you in the mirror. You are going to send yourself into the game of life, knowing that no matter what happens today, you're a winner. You can do this. You can still win. You are going to do your best. You're going to try. You're going to shake off the bullshit that comes your way. And you're going to get out there and you're going to make it a great day. And the thing that I love about this, and again, I have covered the science in this in the episode that we released called The Most Important Habit You Can Have This Year. The first episode we released in January of 2023. It is a game changer. My husband is also on that episode, and it's crazy emotional because he describes what happened to him when he added the high five habit to his $1 million morning routine, the breakthrough that he experienced, because you deserve to feel like $1 million bucks. And you don't feel like $1 million bucks when you're beating the hell out of yourself. And you don't feel like $1,000,000 when you're dragging shame and regret and failure with you. And the high five habit is the science-backed, fast-tracked, research-backed way to plow an entirely new neural pathway and relationship with yourself into your brain, body, mind, and spirit. I'm so passionate about this, but we spent a whole episode on it. So just trust me when I tell you, $1,000,000 Morning includes the high five habit. You are going to add a high five in the mirror to your future self and set an intention as part of your morning routine. Alrighty. Rule number 4, move your body and move your mind. Now, I need to say something because I haven't said it yet. And I forget to say this because I just think it's like something you need to do. It's like so obvious. And that is, have you noticed what I haven't done yet? I haven't looked at my phone. And I want to be very clear about this. You are to get your ass out of bed without looking at your phone. You are to get your ass out of bed before you look at your phone. You are supposed to make your bed without looking at your phone. And you are supposed to walk into the bathroom and wash your face and brush your teeth and do all that stuff and then do the high five habit and send the future you into the day after this awesome huddle and not look at your phone. And I now want you to move your mind and your body without checking your texts and email. Why? Because the second you pick up that phone and you look at a text or an email, you have now put the entire world in front of you. I want you to stop and think about how many people follow you online, even if it's just a couple hundred people on Facebook. Would you want them to walk into your bedroom every single morning? No, of course not. Would you want them to walk into the bathroom as you're standing there without underpants on, brushing your teeth? No. Then why on earth are you letting them do that by looking at your phone? Because that's what you're doing. And more importantly, the second that you look at your phone, you are giving your most important resource as part of your $1,000,000 morning, which is your attention and your intention and your energy to other people. We gotta fucking conserve that shit for yourself. Like your dreams, your energy, your focus, your intention, your attention. You gotta fight to keep that yours. And so, yes, you may listen to something as you move your body, or you may listen to a guided meditation as you move your mind, but do not, under any circumstances, look at your freaking texts or your email, or you screw the whole thing up. It goes from the $1,000,000 morning to bankruptcy 101. Because you just let everybody bankrupt your attention and bankrupt your energy and stress you the hell out before you gave yourself the time you're not going to find the rest of the day. And this is so important because I know a lot of you are like, but I like to do it at the end of the day. Da, 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 da. You can't count on that. The only thing that you can count on is that first thing in the morning, if you get up early enough, you can put yourself first. You can move your body and you can have a mindfulness practice before the rest of the world steps in and steals your time and energy. And so get serious about this. Yes, you can have a longer workout routine at night. Nobody's saying you can't do it twice. I'm just advocating for something based on the research and common sense. And so rule number 4 of the $1,000,000 morning, move your body and move your mind. And I'm talking 10 minutes. There's a brand new study that's been published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that has found that just 10 minutes of power walking every day can add years to your life. And the best part is that walking is fast, it is free, and it is a way for you to achieve better health, a better mood, and even better sleep. Now, what is a power walk? Walk like you're late. That's all you need to do. Based on the research, for 10 lousy minutes. Get outside with your dog, your kids, your spouse, get out on the porch, whatever you can do for 10 lousy minutes. This is so important, not only because 10 minutes of walking like you're late, just briskly walking. It not only adds years to your life, it improves your mood. Mood impacts focus all day. And also, if you can get outside first thing in the morning and bang these 10 minutes out by walking your dog or walking with your kids or walking around the yard or whatever it may be, It resets your circadian rhythm when you see bright light or the outside first thing in the morning. And based on research, that's one of the best ways for you to develop healthier sleep habits. So, 10 minutes physical exercise, 10 minutes of a mindset practice, whether you're journaling, meditating, praying, listening to some sort of calming app, writing out prompts related to mindset that you're trying to develop. Just move your mind, move your body. All you got to commit with the mind is literally a minute. That's it. You're done. And bada bing, bada boom, you have put your mind and your body and your spirit first. And don't look at the phone yet. Don't turn it on the TV yet. Don't check email yet. Because rule number 5, and this is what will make you $1 million. This is what will help you pay off $1 million in debt. It's called the progress principle. The secret to getting big things done is making little progress every day. You want to know how I have accomplished everything that I've accomplished? I make little progress on things every day. And so before you look at your phone, before you look at email, before you let the rest of the world in, take 5 minutes and move the ball down the field on something that's important to you. This comes from research out of Harvard Business School. They call it the progress principle. It is so simple. People who feel like they've made progress on something that's important to them feel more fulfilled, period. It's not about getting things done. It's about making progress on things that actually matter. So whether that thing that matters is getting the photo album assembled for mom and dad's anniversary, or it's getting the paperwork in for financial aid for the degree that you want to go get, or making progress is clearing out the back bedroom now that your kids have moved on so that you have a place for the future you to really work on that new book you've been writing. Or maybe it's progress on something like I've been working on, like launching a podcast, slowly chipping away at learning about it, studying it, moving it down the field. 5, 10, 15 minutes a day is all it takes because those little moves add up to major change. And that, my friend, is the $1 million morning. It's really that simple. It's based in profound research. It checks all the boxes. You can add anything you want to it. But what I love about it is no matter where I am, whether I'm home in southern Vermont, or I'm visiting my parents, or I'm visiting a friend, or I'm sleeping on my daughter's couch in Southie, or I am staying in a hotel, this simple series of 5 promises, it makes me feel like me. It makes me know that no matter where I am and what's going on, I know I can rely on me. Because every single day when that alarm rings, I keep that promise to myself. I wake up. I roll out of bed. I get started. I get my ass out of bed. I do not look at my phone. I do not look at my emails. I do not check my texts. I do not look at social media. I wouldn't dare do it because it's not part of my $1 million morning. I then go and make the bed. Why? Because it makes me feel like $1 million. I'm just that kind of person, you know? And then I set the intention with the future Mel. That's right, bitch. We're going to go get it today. High five to that. Get out there. Let's go. And that high five, it washes away the worry. It jacks me up. It makes me feel a little bit more like I'm up to something. Let's do this thing at 54. I feel kind of cool. Not going to lie. Got to make time to move my body and my mind. 10 minutes. You got 10 lousy minutes. I still haven't looked at my messages or my emails. Not going to let it bankrupt me. I am on a $1 million roll, and then I got to move the ball down the field. That's it. That's it. That is it. And I'm serious about this. I want you to try this $1 million morning, and I want to help you get started. So if you want some help, let me kick your ass. Well, I'll actually just encourage you. Join my free 5-day challenge. I created this to help you put this into practice. I say this all the time. We're not just here for listening. This is a doing podcast. And so we created the no-cost Wake Up Challenge for you. Go to melrobbins.com/wakeup. Start tomorrow. Tens of thousands of people have already completed it. And in the challenge, you learn more hacks, tips, science, research, all kinds of things that will not only motivate you, it's going to help you become the future you. That's what this is about. And you know why we're doing this? Simple. Because I love you. And I believe in you. And I believe that you can do this. You can create a morning routine that makes you feel like $1 million. You can keep a set of simple promises that helps you create the foundation to achieve your goals. And trust me when I tell you, it will be worth it. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.